What's it like to dream since childhood of being a wife and a mother, and then to face a life-threatening situation that requires a radical step to keep those dreams alive? This is Madhuri Chavda, who was determined to always be there for the people that she loves. A woman whose own warm upbringing taught her the value of family.
Every Sunday we'll finish lunch. Immediately my dad says, everything ready, picnic basket packed. The 4 sisters would meet, we'll go for this picnic most Sundays with all the kids. That's my fondest memory of my childhood, being with my cousins all the time. And up till today, I have a very close bond with my cousins, very.
And your parents?
Yes.
Close to them?
Yes, very, very. And you know, it's those are memories. Those are memories because, I mean, your childhood memories about cousins will always remain with you.
Yeah. You're lucky, hey, to come from a solid, loving...
Totally. My dad instilled upon us family is important. We never did anything alone as a family without my dad including his sisters and their children. Not a lot of money, but lots of family unity. A lot of family bond all the time. All the time. And that to me, like I said, that's priceless.
Madhuri grew up in Cape Town, the only girl surrounded by 3 brothers in a proud Hindu home. There was always a deep sense of culture and tradition, of knowing who you are and where you come from.
This is my album I dedicated to my dad after he passed away.
You're very close to your dad and your mom. Your dad particularly, though,
yes, particularly my dad. Yeah.
Oh, look at this fantastic old car. Was this your car?
That was my dad's car, yeah. This was taken outside the store. And this is where I was born. I was born in Park Road, Wynberg. And it's still there.
It's still functioning?
Since 1921.
And your mum works now?
My mom's still there.
That's the way.
My mom's still there.
Years later, when she was a young mother to 9-month-old Priya, Madhuri was travelling on holiday with her parents and was struck by a comment made by her father along the way.
And on our journey to Port Elizabeth, we drove by car and we stopped at Storms River. And he said something very odd, and he said, let's stop here and let's take a photo, because we know we're going to pass here again. That photo I'll treasure forever, because that's the last photo I took of my dad. We were about to go out for dinner or something, and then he just said he had a sharp pain in his chest, and my mom said, can we get the doctor? And he said, no, it's fine, I'll just go lie down. I just heard a loud bang and I ran, and my dad was lying there. My dad's death was the biggest loss in my life. I was very angry with God. Like, why did he take my dad away? But the night he died, and the night of his funeral, I had a dream.
What did you dream?
I dreamt my dad had his same clothes on, the clothes that he died in. He was sitting next to me in a park, and we were sitting on a bench. And I asked him, why did you leave me? And all he said was, I didn't leave you, I'm still with you.
Through the pain of saying goodbye to her father, Madhuri's husband Denesh was constantly at her side. They became engaged when he was a young medical student, and her father approved of this well-spoken young man with a bright future ahead of him. The wedding was what she had dreamed of. Time now to start a family of her own, with a man she loved at her side.
Oh, she was beautiful on that day. Smartly dressed in a red sari. She was just absolutely stunning and beautiful. For me, it was a happy moment because knowing here is my future, my wife here. You know, so it was quite an exciting experience, I can say.
Even after 27 years of marriage, what a gentleman. His mannerism, the way he treats people. That's what I fell for. That's what I fell for. And I there's still that little spark. I mean, this thing is, of course, there'll always be a spark for Denesh. When I see him when he walks in from work, then I look at him and I say, oh, thank God he's back. I find a lot of my dad in Denesh. his mannerism, the way he speaks to people, the kindness, willing to help everybody. And I always tell Denesh, I said, you remind me so much of my dad.
Soon their baby daughter Priya was born, followed a few years later by Sandhya. Madhuri was creating her own family, filled with the warmth, closeness and tradition that she'd wanted since childhood. When Madhuri's cousin became gravely ill in the United States, she and an aunt travelled to visit her. It was September the 11th, 2001.
We were flying over JFK and my aunt said, oh my goodness, there's the Twin Towers. So we looked down and said, oh, that's the Twin Towers. We just heard this American woman say, oh my God, it's a plane, with her accent. And we said, like, what was happening? A plane had gone into a building.
On the morning of September the 11th, 2001, Cape Townian Madhuri Chavda landed at JFK Airport. She was on her way to visit a cousin who'd been diagnosed with breast cancer.
To pass time, I switched on the TV, and all of a sudden you just saw CNN and the Twin Towers burning. And when I heard that, I started shivering because I realized that the South African plane that Madhuri was on was going to land or landed at that particular time.
All hell broke loose. I was stuck in America for 5 days with no contact from my husband. He couldn't get hold of me because all the lines were off.
The day later, they said that the South African plane had landed quite safely. So that was a bit of consolation.
Through the grace of God, we managed to get out of New York in time because they closed all the tunnels and they closed. There was no ways you could leave New York at that time.
Look at that. That's sad. And how many people lost their lives?
But even the shock of 9/11 couldn't prepare Madhuri for the reality of seeing her beloved cousin Raji and witnessing the ravages of breast cancer on a once vital woman.
Seeing Raji the first time when I arrived after about 15 years broke my heart immensely because of the way she looked. Very down, very, very down. Very, very down. And I used to sit and spend time with her, chatting to her about our lives together, our childhood. And we would be sleeping and we would hear these noises of her vomiting. And I would ask the next morning and she said, yeah, these are the side effects of the chemotherapy I have to go through. That scared me a lot. I thought to myself, you are so young and you have to go through all this. The hardest part of our American trip besides 9/11 was saying goodbye to Raji. She held me tight and she cried and she said, see you one day. See you one day. It was very hard saying goodbye to her because I knew I would never see her again. Up till today, I promise you, I don't know why I wanted to go and see her. I don't know. I still question myself about why did you want to see her? Because she had breast cancer and she was terminally ill. She was quite ill. And I spoke to my husband and he says, no, if you want to go, you go and see her. I think it was a message from, I don't know, it was from God. There was something to that trip I took.
Time passed and the girls were growing up. The Chavda household was in full swing, and despite the loss of Raji, Madhuri had found a sense of security, surrounded by the people that she loved most in the world.
And in about 2005, everything was going good for me. Priya was in matric and we're getting ready for the exam, then helping Denesh in his medical practice. And then all of a sudden, about April, I just wasn't feeling too well. I was constantly tired, very drained. And I kept telling Denesh, I'm not feeling well. I went to have a checkup and lo and behold, I was told to go for a mammogram because something wasn't looking right. And I received a call from my oncologist asking me to please see her as soon as possible. So I asked her if everything was okay. So she says, we'll discuss it when we meet. I walked into Anne's office and the first thing Anne did was place a box of tissues in front of me and said, Mrs. Chavda, I'm sorry to tell you this, but unfortunately you have cancer in both your breasts. I blacked out. I remember clearly, I just burst out crying.
My first question was, okay, why did she have this? I mean, what brought it on, etc. And then obviously reality stuck to say that she has cancer, breast cancer, and we need to deal with this.
Denesh was very sad because, I mean, as a medical doctor, for his wife to be diagnosed, it was hard. It was very hard. And he just looked at me and he held my hand and he said, don't worry, everything will be okay. It will be okay, don't worry.
She was 45 at that time, with breast cancer, 2 growing daughters. What if she was not here on this earth anymore? Okay, what's going to happen to her daughters? Those are the first things that flash through your mind.
In your mind, what did breast cancer mean?
Death. Because I thought of my cousin that passed away at 46. Raji, I thought of Raji. And Raji left her 2 kids behind who were very young. I thought to myself, there is no ways I cannot afford to die now. I was extremely fortunate. It was the very early stages of ductal carcinoma in situ, where the cancer was all in the milk ducts and they hadn't started spreading yet. So I was and they hadn't started spreading to the lymph nodes yet. So I was fortunate. Through the grace of God, I was fortunate. And the first thing that went through my mind was, my dad must have been watching over me.
Faced with a history of breast cancer in her family and the terrible news of her own diagnosis, Madhuri weighed her options and made a radical decision.
I remember the day before going to my oncologist, me telling Denesh that if this is breast cancer, there is no ways I am going for treatment, meaning chemotherapy, no lumpectomy. I would like a bilateral mastectomy if it's on both. And he looked at me and he said, are you sure? Do you know what you're talking about? I said, yes, Denesh, I know what I'm talking about. I said, I would like everything out because I can't put this, I could not afford to put my girls through this. To leave my daughters behind, no ways. No ways.
This is what Madhuri had. It's called ductal carcinoma in situ. It means, this is a diagram of a milk duct, okay? These are normal cells of the duct. But when we look at these smaller cells, these are beginning stages of cancer. Stage 0 to 1, it hadn't started to spread yet.
You knew what it really meant?
Yeah, because I was a medical doctor, I knew the disease pattern, all right? And I knew what she was going to go through as far as treatment's concerned. And I respected the decision.
What did you feel when she said that?
Like I said, I was a bit surprised at the decision, but then when I thought about it, I think it was a wise decision and a brave decision for her to do that, because she wanted to prolong her life, to be with her daughters, to be with myself, to be with her family.
At the time of the diagnosis, Priya's matric dance was just a few days away.
This is also nice.
Madhuri decided to keep the news of her breast cancer and her decision to have a double mastectomy from her daughters, but eventually she had to tell them.
When I heard what she said, I felt really shocked and I felt very sad because nobody wants to hear that their mom or dad has cancer, because we always associate cancer with death. That's our first thought sometimes. But surprisingly, my mom was very positive about it, and she had already looked at, ways in which she was going to cure herself, and she immediately told us that she had the early stages and that there was hope, and that it did not mean that she was going to die.
Priya, with the teal, what would you, something closest to the teal one?
I think this one over here. So she broke the news to us after my June exams were over. Under all this personal stress that she was going through, she still went all out and made sure that I had a beautiful before party and that I went off to my matric ball nicely. And she knew that exactly 1 week later she was going to have this operation.
I was more worried actually about my daughter's matric dance, giving her beautiful matric dance. I wasn't worried at that time about my surgery. I thought when the time comes, that will happen.
All I know is that it was her selfless nature that made her carry on and make the night very special for me, even though she was going through her own
I think this
stress.
goes the best
out of all of them.
Priya was very, very shocked. All she asked me was, she said was, Ma, how are you going to cope with your breast being removed? How are you going to be okay?
It's a big step. It's removing a part of yourself, and that I felt really sorry for her. I felt sorry about the fact that she had to do that, but I know that that was the only way she could see herself surviving.
From the time of my diagnosis, I just wanted this cancer out of my body. I just wanted everything pertaining to the cancer, the tissue, I just wanted it out. I told the surgeon, I said, I want every piece removed. Every piece removed.
Your femininity, your womanness.
Lisa, when you get diagnosed with breast cancer and you've got 2 young daughters, you don't think of femininity. That goes out the window. You think of your family. You think of your girls. You think of your husband. I didn't at one stage think of how am I going to cope without it. I thought to myself, that's not important. Living is important.
In her mid-40s, Madhuri Chavda was diagnosed with breast cancer and given various options of how to respond. She chose the most radical preventative step, a bilateral or double mastectomy. She was determined to do everything that she could to remain alive for her daughters and husband Denesh.
Yes. How long has it been since you were diagnosed with cancer?
This year, May, will be 8 years that I'm in remission. I know.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I know you used to come home to do my hair. But you remember you did my hair the day before I went to hospital?
Yes,
to have the
yes.
op? I remember clearly I had my hair done, I had my nails done. I just teased my husband. I said, in case I don't come out alive, at least my nails and hair look nice. I'll lie in there and I'll look pretty. 24th of June, 2005. I got up that morning of the operation. I did my morning prayer. And I went up to Denesh and I said, I can't go through this. I don't know what happened to me. And I said, I can't go through this op.
Down the passage into the front room and just bursts out crying. And tells me, I can't go through with this. I think reality had a setting as to what's going to happen to her. And she cried and cried and cried. And all I could do was reassure her.
I was scared. What if I died during the operation and how would my girls feel? And I remember clearly my husband just holding my hand and kissing me and telling me, good luck, you can do it. I know you can do it. And then the next morning I woke up, in the evening I woke up and my family was standing by my bedside and I survived it. I remember standing in the shower and I slowly with the water on my body, slowly pulled off the bandage and I looked down and I thought, oh my God, is this it? When I saw the scars and I thought, thank God I'm alive. Thank God I'm alive.
With Denesh and her daughters at her side, Madhuri's recovery progressed well. But something nagged at her. The lack of openness in her community about cancer. She wanted to share her story and help break the silence.
After my surgery, I decided that I would like to give back to the community by educating them on cancer. So every year, like on the anniversary of my op, I would have this big cancer awareness talks where I'd invite the Indian community, not necessarily Indian, but the community, and whereby I'd have arranged through Gatesville Medical Centre, I would have free pap smears done for women. I would have blood tests done for men to test their prostate cancer, everything related to cancer. And my personal opinion is, I felt by speaking about the cancer, Lisa, I healed quicker.
Madhuri had chosen the most extreme preventative response to her breast cancer, one that significantly reduces the risk of it returning. And it is in her spiritual space that she begins to understand it all. the importance of educating around early detection and the health of future generations, of using her own story as an example of what's possible when cancer crosses our path.
Unfortunately, in every community, especially in the Indian community, people don't talk about cancer. They keep it very much to themselves. It's like the big C. You can't talk about the big C. And I was just the opposite. I felt, how do you expect to heal? How do you expect to educate the community if you don't talk about it?
She's doing a lot of talks. I think she's the first person or one of the first in the community who's speaking about cancer.
I think she's one of the first Hindu ladies to talk about breast cancer, okay, to make people aware of breast cancer in the community.
When you're diagnosed with cancer, people regard it as cancer, chemo, and death. When you're diagnosed with cancer, the first thing a person will say is, oh my God, I'm going to die. If diagnosed earlier, and if you choose whatever surgery you'd like to choose, you can live. You can live.
It's a precautionary measure for every single one of us. And because she went through this procedure, it has made such an effect on us, caused such an effect on us that there is a possibility that we could be going through the exact same procedure, and all we have to do is just look after ourselves.
Eight years after her diagnosis, Madhuri Chavda is cancer-free. She's living an active and contributive life as the wife, mother, and community member she's always wanted to be.
And relax. Well done. Good stuff.
She's an example of a person who doesn't view herself as a victim, but as a survivor. And that's what I really like about her story.
She wants to see her daughters get married. Okay, she wants to be with me for a longer period of time. I think that was a leap of faith, just to be around us and live life to the fullest and enjoy life on a day-to-day basis.
When I sit with my family, then I tell myself, well done on your decision to live. And I'm very grateful that I did this thing. I thank the man above for giving me the strength to make this big decision in my life, to prolong my life, to be with my family, with my mom and my daughters and my husband. I thank the man above.